All right. Well, Cecil, you know what time it is?
What time is it?
It's time for Cecil's Fantasy 5 presented by Hooters. Let's get into this, Cecil. Let's just start with the Broncos matchup, right? Broncos, Lions. Are you saying start Jerry Jeudy 100% if you got him in your league?
Not 100%. I don't want to be a cop out. Like nothing's 100% there, but it depends on your rest of your league. But if you need like a what the heck flex is what I determine it. This is the first week of the fantasy playoffs.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to tell you a little bit of story. You ready for a story, Rachel?
I love story time.
I tell this every year. I probably told it to you already, but I'll refresh everyone because when I get to the fantasy playoffs, I have what I call a Marcy Rossman rule. Now, years ago in beautiful Grover, Colorado, I was able to take my girlfriend, Marcy Rossman, to homecoming. She wasn't from Grover. She was from Eaton. She didn't know anybody. So I get to homecoming and my buddy, John Conley, who I think might be in jail. Anyway, he was like, hey, let's go drink beer and egg the principal's house. And me being 15, I was like, great. And so that's what we did. I left Marcy at the dance by herself where she didn't know anybody, got back to the dance, and well, we broke up, needless to say. But I always think of that moment, and I'm still friends with Marcy to this day. But I always think of that moment. I say, dance with who brung you, right? Dance with who brung you. I should have danced that night. Didn't need to go be a hooligan, although I am a scoundrel. Like I should have danced with that young lady and should have had a great time. So in fantasy playoff time, Marcy Rossman rule, don't overthink it. Paralysis by analysis. Okay. Jerry Jeudy's a what the heck flex, but like start your studs. It's essentially a start your studs rule, although I have a much better story with the Marcy Rossman rule. But start your studs, but make sure your studs are your studs. Because did you get here because of Jamar Chase? Yeah, you might have gotten here because of Jamar Chase, and Jake Browning's playing some better football. But you have to look at every situation and say, okay, what can you live with? Can I live with benching Jamar Chase because of matchup or Jake Browning or whatever? No, no, I can't live with that. I got to start him. Someone like Austin Eckler, though, did you get here because of Austin Eckler? Probably not. He doesn't look real good. And he's hurt, by the way. So it starts your studs, but has Austin Eckler been a stud this year? The answer is no. So he can be on your bench if you have a better matchup. So it's critical. And I can tell by my Twitter mentions and my emails, like I can tell it's fantasy playoffs because I'm getting flooded with questions and I'm here to help.
I was going to say, what's the best question you've gotten asked?
Well, I could pull up some of my questions.
I was gonna say I'm like so intrigued by like what are people freaking out about the most when it comes to their fantasy playoffs?
Yeah, people are freaking out about their fantasy playoffs because you have your standard, like, I know this guy's good, and then you have the is he good? Rachaad White, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It's the Bay of the Pigs, Battle of the Pigs, and Tampa Bay Green Bay this week. Rachaad White is my number 3 fantasy running back this week. Number 3.
Wow.
So, and I know Rashad a little bit, so it's not because I'm friendly with him or whatever, but like, yeah. And it's not just touch based, right? Some guys that get the opportunity and well, they're going to produce because that's the only guy. Rachaad White is producing. So start your studs. I don't know. Is Rachaad White a stud? Yeah. Yeah, he is. So you get a lot of these questions because again, people are overthinking it. Don't overthink it. Fantasy playoffs. It's look at your matchup. If I'm the favorite, I'm starting my safest players because I'm the favorite. If you need everything, that's where Jerry Jeudy comes into play. Let's say you're the underdog and you snuck into your fantasy playoffs and you barely made it and you shouldn't even be here today, like Dante from Clerks. Like, if that's the case, then you are starting your Jerry Jeudy's because you need everything. I need the Hail Mary. I need that perfect pass. I need something to come through. That's where those type of prospects, I call them what the heck flexes. That's where they come into play for this week. But for the most part, if you're the favorite, start your studs.
Okay. What about just sleepers, though? What if you're like, I don't have a ton of studs on my team? Who's some sleepers you can get?
Yeah, I got some sleepers for you this week, and I'll go back to the Broncos. It's on that fast track. You want to see Jaleel McLaughlin on carpet, basically? Like, that's a fast track. And that's a fast man. So like, yes, sleepers, again, more like what the heck flex level type of players. If we see in this Buffalo game, James Cook's going to do his thing, but Ty Johnson there behind him, if Buffalo wanted to run more, huge game against Dallas, absolutely monumental game against Dallas. The key might be running the ball more. So that's where Ty Johnson would come in. Nobody's even thinking about him because James Cook is doing so much as a receiver out of the backfield. At the wide receiver position, I look at sleepers or players that maybe that you're not expecting. I'll go back to Buffalo, Gabe Davis. If you run the ball, that sets up play action shots for Gabe Davis down the field. So that's where you're going to look. That's where you're going to go. Back to the Green Bay game, Dontavian Wicks has come through. Romeo Dobbs is there. I love him. Jaden Reed is there doing good things. Jordan Love playing better football. Against Tampa Bay, it's going to be clustered to run, attack the secondary. That's where a guy like Wicks can come through. I still love Jahan Dotson from the Commanders, so I'll always throw out a shout out to him. But that's, Parker Washington from Jacksonville. We've seen him a couple of games now. Like, yeah, you've got some Hail Marys yourself to throw this week if you're in the position to do that. If not, start your studs and be the favorite and move on to the next week.
Is there any matchups that you really hate? Is there anything that really just sticks out?
As far as matchups that I hate, well, I want to see in this matchup against Miami and the Jets. Like, okay, Jets feeling themselves a little bit. Miami kind of taking one on the chin. Tyreek Hill a little bit banged up. Does that make Jalen Waddle the number one? Perhaps it could, although Waddle himself is banged up. Yeah. So you look at that situation, you go, okay, I'm not exactly sure what to expect from Miami side. Now, you're still starting your Dolphins. I'm not saying bench your Dolphins, but just know the Jets might sense a little blood in the water. And how about their Super Bowl, because they're not going to go to the Super Bowl, is beating a divisional opponent that was the talk of the talk in week 3 when they beat the Broncos by 50. It's so different for Miami now. Miami is not a threat whatsoever. It means the Jets could get them. And that means you would not be expecting that based on what we saw earlier this year.
Which is also, you want the Jets, if you're a Broncos fan, to beat Miami, correct?
Yeah, I mean, if you're the Broncos, take care of your business. I think there's some games on Saturday that are very important to watch for this team. And one of those is the Minnesota game, because Minnesota could end up overtaking the Lions, as crazy as that sounds. I don't believe in Nick Mullins, although there was a moment, Rachel. My memory is hazy, so I'll have to go back to specifically when it was. There was a moment when this team wanted Nick Mullins, the Broncos did. And there were moves behind the scenes that were setting up to get Nick Mullins. They weren't able to do it, and they were upset about it. Like, the Broncos were upset they didn't get Nick Mullins. That's how bad this quarterback spot has been. So Russell Wilson's corny as a cheese ball. Yeah, he's better than Nick Mullins.
No kidding. Okay. Well, Cecil's Fantasy 5 presented by Hooters. We always appreciate it, getting all of the nice little details that come with that one.